Hello everyone, welcome back to Prosperous Growth Trends with Debbie Sappho, where we discuss how to prosper despite anything that's going on in your life. Today I'm going to give you, as the title indicates, an update on my myositis and what's been going on. But first of all, there's a lot going on. Just when you think everything is under control, then things start acting wacky. At least that's been my journey and my experience. As I've stated in previous videos, and if this is your first video, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. And if this is not, welcome back. I am so glad to have you here. But look at those videos if it's your first time. It'll just bring you up to date on my myositis journey. But I was stating that there are 5 different main types of myositis. All of them fight against your muscles. The myo, if you didn't know, MYO means muscle. Whenever you see that in any medical terminology. And myositis is when your body once again fights against its own muscles. It's debilitating. And there are various ranges of that debilitation. So far, after treatment, I'm feeling really well. All of my blood levels are doing great. When I first, or before I was diagnosed, I could barely walk. I was crawling up the stairs. I couldn't get out the car, or at least it took a lot of effort to get in and out the car. But I am taking immunotherapy, specifically IVIG, and that has helped a lot. But I noticed that I was starting to get more and more rashes all over my body. And for myositis, that is a part of it, but the type of myositis I have, which is necrotizing myositis, and when you see necrotizing, most of the time that means that something is dying. I know that sounds creepy, but in my case, it means that my muscles die. The good news is that muscle can regenerate based off of everything my physicians have told me and the physical therapist. Muscle can regenerate, but you have to stay very active, and that's why I exercise at least 5 to 6 times a week. But going on with the story, I started getting rashes, and they were strange rashes, and they didn't seem like the rashes I had initially, at least some of them. And then lately I've been hearing people talk about rashes all over their body and it's cancer and all of that. But rashes are a huge part of myositis, but not the necrotizing. It's a small part of it. So I asked my rheumatologist, as one of the 5 doctors that I see, I kept saying, are you sure I don't have dermatoMyositis, which rashes are extremely prominent. In all of myositis, they're prominent, but dermatoMyositis, it's the #1 diagnosed form of myositis. It has rashes that can be all over your body. A lot of times it's on your face, your knuckles, and sometimes it gets so bad on your knuckles it gets infected. And I know individuals who have to have surgery, but most of the time it's on your arms, your back, your knuckles, places like that. And I was starting to get them, but my rheumatologist said no. Based off of your diagnosis, based off of your biopsy and the 5 indicators, you have necrotizing. But for my research, I kept saying, man, I'm getting a lot of rashes. And so I asked to see a dermatologist, and it takes a long time to get into a dermatologist. So I saw one dermatologist, and I had to get another biopsy on my back, and then that came back inconclusive. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm getting sliced all over my body. I don't like that, even though I only had 3 stitches, but still there's scars that come along with that. And then it comes up inconclusive. And so I knew something was going on. If you know your body, you know your body. And so I asked, I went to go see a pulmonary doctor at, no, I didn't. I went to the Ohio State University, which is a huge hospital in Columbus, Ohio. And I had my every 6-month checkup with the rheumatologist there. And I shared with her, I said, listen, my rashes are getting really worse and I want to check into it because if you have dermatomyositis, then cancer and other things can come along with that, and they like to keep an eye on it. And I did have cancer screenings in the beginning of this, and everything came back negative, but they like to keep baseline data. So I said, listen, I had a biopsy. It was inconclusive, and she looked, because my charts go between both hospitals that I am dealing with for my myositis. And I said, I'm still having these rashes. And she looked at them and she said, it looks more like dermatomyositis. And I said, that's what I've been trying to say. She said, well, she said, did you see the dermatologist? I said, I couldn't get in at the OSU dermatologist you recommended until December of 2025. And so she said, let me make a phone call. And so she did, and they got me in like within 2 weeks, which was last week. And the dermatologist looked at it. It took him 5 seconds and said, you have dermatomyositis. I said, I've been trying to say that, but they're not listening. So he looked at all my charts and all this. He said, listen, I treat this all the time. This rash is indicative of dermatomyositis. Then he looked at my chart and he said, you need to be on another oral medication because that one will work better. Let me talk to your doctor and let's change your medication. So it just pays to go to really good hospitals. I feel really good about it. I've mentioned before that OSU, the Ohio State University's hospital, is only one of 2 hospitals that even have a myositis clinic, and they only take 6 patients, and I feel blessed that I'm one of them. The other one is Cleveland Clinic, and that's in Cleveland, Ohio. So now I'm waiting to see if they'll change my medication. And I'm not on any medication at all but that one. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have high cholesterol. I've never had diabetes. I've never been on any medication prior to this. Now, the reason why I'm on the oral medication is because my numbers, blood work, everything is just normal. And so they're saying I don't need to take the immunotherapy anymore. And so then, so they have me on hydroxychloroquine, which is doing, I haven't had any side effects from it. That's the medicine that they were calling horse tranquilizers or something, but it's been on the market for many, many years. It's helped save lives. It helps with malaria, just all kinds of uses, and it's been known to help with autoimmune diseases, people who have lupus, myositis, etc. So I am on that, but you have to, it takes 4 months to get into your system. So what they're going to do is just trying to get to an equilibrium point. So what they're going to do is start to decrease the infusions I get monthly with my hospital stays, and just slowly take that down as the hydroxychloroquine gets into my system. And I hope this all makes sense, because if you've never had to deal with a lot of doctors, be grateful. But I unfortunately know more than I ever want to know. But it's good to know, what's going on with your body. So we had already had that in progress. So now they're saying maybe I need to change my oral medications. Part of the problem, I think, with why I'm breaking out really bad is that I got off of my autoimmune eating protocol. And I know that's part of it. I do know that nutrition and eating is huge, because when I was doing really, really well, I didn't have any flare-ups with these rashes. And they're not just rashes, they itch really, really bad all over your body. I'm in a myositis support group, and so that is a constant theme throughout everybody that I talk to who has myositis, and it just makes it nice. And this is a women of color myositis support group, so because our skin rashes look different than other melatonin skinned individuals, and it's really helpful to see what they're experiencing, what their doctors are recommending. There's also a dermatologist specifically for women of color, and someone that understands what we're going through, because they are going through it at the same time. And it just really helps calming, saying, is this or is this that? It just brings a calming effect to what's going on. So that's an update of what's going on with my myositis. If you have any insight on myositis, let me know, because I also want to hear about anybody who has an experience with that. And if you haven't, I really appreciate you being here, because remember, we're prosperous here despite anything that's going on in our life. And so a lot of this content is just things, everyday things that are going to bring us joy. So I appreciate you. As always, like, subscribe, comment, share. As always, love life and all things beautiful.